fabulous. Don't you wanna try it?
Don't you want to try it? Okay, let's get into it right away. We are talking about the Hula app on this episode of App Fabulous. I'm Justine, your guide on the side. Let's get into it. So I tried Hula probably about a year and a half ago, and I was coming out of being a part of a programming and AI development cohort that I was part of. And so I was really into trying a lot of new apps that were out. One thing that I did find that I have found interesting is when you are in the Play Store, whether that is for Android or Apple, some of these apps might be more inclined towards a certain operating system. But one of the things I looked at was what are the holding companies that are listing the app for sale in the Play Store? And I found a lot of intersection and overlap between multiple apps. Hula was one of them, alongside a few others, and the parent companies actually go back to Prequel and some of these other ones. So a lot of times, make sure that you're really examining. The reason I wanted to start doing the reviews, it was so that you can be examining, what am I investing in? What's the purpose? And should I be spending money on this, or is this a tech company trying to double dip? So what I'm trying to say in very direct terms is Hula is one of those kind of extension or duplication or add-on apps that I found that's very, very similar to a lot of other ones out there. And because there are many AI companies now where you can create apps from their original frameworks and their coding, etc., it's a lot easier for people to develop apps, but they are not all created equal. And sometimes you have this double dipping going where the same parent company might operate Hula, Prequel, and a couple others. Don't take that verbatim. This is not legal speak at all. And I'm just giving an example because what I found was there were just slightly different things with the apps, but all of them were requiring a subscription, right? If you don't want like the watermark and stuff. So this is where I'm telling you the brutal truth of like a really analytical brain sometimes, not all the time. Sometimes I'm a big airhead, y'all. But look into the details is all I'm saying. And Hula is one of those apps that I really liked it for a lot of reasons because I wanted, and I've been looking for an app that does a great job of converting an existing static photo or image into video and not having to be an expert at the Adobe Suite, Photoshop, etc. So the target audience for this episode, if you're a person who likes creating with AI styles, avatars, and photo to video effects, then yes, you might want to try it. You might want to try the Hula app. Let's talk a little bit about what it's best for, the app itself, the technical details. And the truth is, Hula is kind of a playground of sorts for having fun with and transforming your visuals. So think about, for example, regenerating an image you have into two different styles, one that is a watercolor painting style and another that's a pixelated video game style or a fantasy character style, for example, cartoons. You can create avatars, and you can also turn photos into videos and even make some digital stickers, which is super cool if you like using stickers on Instagram Reels, stories, etc. What is this really best for? Let's cut to the chase here because I have to be truthful. I'm not being paid to review these apps. Not at this point in time. You all will definitely hear if I acquire a sponsor over time. The only things you're going to hear me promote here, honestly, the one thing is just our community online. And that is Teach Techies. That corresponds with App Fabulous. App Fabulous is the official podcast for the Teach Techies community. And you can hop in at any time. I'm always going to share that link with you all. But when it comes to these reviews, I don't have any allegiances, or if I do have everybody has biases. So you will also hear me share my bias in every episode based on my own test experiments and knowledge levels. So I'm never going to tell you to try something if you don't know some of the details before you hop into it. So what is the Hula app really best for? It is best for transforming the style of an image. And also if you want to have some experimentation with photo to video, and perhaps some little AI creations like stickers and playful content that's quick and shareable. So I'm going to be very, very blunt here in what I need you to watch out for. Here are the things I need you to watch out for. That AI style tools can get addictive fast, and decide what your purpose is. I have made this mistake being a tester of apps, just being a curious person, being in tech spaces, liking to try things out, liking aesthetics, liking creating and designing. All of that to say, I've definitely gone down hours of rabbit holes, and I have needed through the years to be able to say, are you going to do this for about 20 minutes and play around? Just like if I were going to play a video game or a computer game, or even a hobby, right? Like even hobbies, you got to take breaks, right? Yeah, you got to take care of yourself and be aware. But I know we can all get in that mode where you're almost in this trance-like state because you are having so much fun trying something new. But what I don't want you to do is to spiral into creating 97 versions of the same selfie. Because how will that help you? Will it, or just agree with yourself? I don't care. I'm going to play with it as much as I want for now, even if I never do anything with this. So just decide on your purpose. That would be my main watch out. Hula is relatively cheap, but it's definitely not something that I kept paying for after the free trial. I will put it to you very clearly. Personally, I didn't see enough ROI with the type of content I develop, the type of work I do in consulting and speaking and writing for me to invest in the Hula app. Now, if you're in a space of wanting to convert visuals, make some really cool graphics and avatars, and you do a lot of that, then you might want to look into this, right? Especially if you provide services to other people as part of your means. This is actually a really, really cheap app. I think it was, I want to say $4 or $5 per month. I just can't justify that for a play around tool. That's how I make my determination. Like it or love it, I'm giving you the truth. Okay, so what's my final verdict with Hula? I did make some super cute cartoon videos of a picture of my dog. I have a 12-pound miniature poodle. She's sitting right behind me right now as I record this. And I did make some super cute pictures of her. Maybe I'll put one of those pictures in the blog article that goes even more in depth and gives you the step-by-step details. So if you're new here, I want you to be reminded that I will always link our blog, the App Fabulous blog, to each episode here. So for every episode you hear, there's also an entire blog article. And in the blog article, I give you a whole real talk section of how things actually work. So in other words, the kitchen sink, everything but the cleaner. So that I go in depth. In this particular article, I did go in depth and share with you all that Hula uses generative models tuned for visuals, image to image, video synthesis engines to map your selfie or photo and how it does those things, but also give you some real talk pro tips for creators out there, as well as an advanced workflow. So if you are not at a beginner stage and you really want Hula to shine, I point that out and give you an advanced workflow in the article, as well as some safety, ethics, and brand voice kind of tidbits. And a few of those questions I'll just end on here. The AI aesthetics, anything AI aesthetics can feel really seductive. But before you batch and mass generate and use these tools, which we know, they are pulling power and energy. They are pulling labor. They are pulling energetic forces. Any of these tools are. They're requiring things that may or may not be harming populations. Now, do we know that about a lot of systems in our world? And I don't want to get on a big soapbox, but I do want you to think about and consider how much you're using AI and the ethics behind why you're doing it. So, especially in apps like Hula, when there is mass generating that happens, ask yourself these two questions before you move forward. And especially if you found, like I do with this particular app, it was just fun to try. I wasn't going to use it all the time. I didn't want to keep creating little avatars of myself during medieval times. But these two questions are, does this keep my brand's voice? And could this misrepresent someone? So those are two things just at a very surface level, a very visual and surface level. That is really important to consider, those two questions. So when you look at the authenticity behind it, though, you have to also look at, does that avatar even feel connected to your brand or your persona and what you're trying to accomplish? The availability is that there is definitely a free model that they have, but everything, and especially in AI speak, there are credit-based and subscription upgrades for if you want higher resolution exports, if you want batch processing, and if you want premium styles. So if you're going to do weekly drops with an app like Hula, you do want to consider a monthly plan so that you don't have breaks in your workflow. But again, for me, this didn't make sense. I did kind of a credit-based thing to see the quality of, as I started by telling you all, I just wanted to see what tools were available specific to add motion, movement, and video to a static photograph I had taken of my dog. So, and because I do have an Instagram for her, that seemed relevant, right? But over time, you also have to weigh, what are these systems charging you for quote unquote credits? And then what output is that actually giving you? So anyways, if you also do want, or you have like, okay, so I'm going to miss out if I don't try Hula, is there anything else I should try? Just look at dedicated face motion tools. So here's the thing. If you don't want to try Hula app and you already know, like, okay, well, she says she doesn't use it. But if you do want photo real head reenactment, because for me, like I told you, I was just looking for something to make static images into video, and what was the capacity to do that with Hula. Look at dedicated face motion tools. That's what you're going to search. And then Hula has a sweet spot really just for playful social first outputs. That's how I would really describe it. So anyways, you can definitely spiral really easy in an app like that because it creates quickly, it's playful, it's fun. And I would say, use it to prototype some character ideas, spice up your content calendar a little bit, but also just keep your brand's compass at the forefront so that the fun of Hula or any of these other apps, there's so many that are out there, so many that hit the market every day. Just make sure it doesn't swallow your message and your brand because, I'm about to give you the hot nerd verdict. And you know what I say? If you look in the mirror and you know you got it, you're hot. Okay? So embrace you. When you love yourself and embrace yourself, then your brand messaging starts to shine. You don't have to get caught up on the mistakes or having everything look perfect, but let's get to our hot nerd verdict. And remember, go tell yourself you're hot in the mirror. But your hot nerd verdict from me, your resident hot nerd and your AI specialist friend, Justine, I'm going to tell you that Hula is fun and it's like having a vehicle with high horsepower. Okay, it's good for creative bursts, but you just don't want it to replace your actual voice. And again, I always use myself as a living example, a living testimony. Go look at my OG Instagram feed. I always put my different feed links at the very bottom of the show notes in case you want to connect in those ways. But go take a look because you will definitely see an era in 2024. You will see a block of probably like 20 different posts and you can see where the fun it may have taken over my voice, but I was also trying to figure out how I was pivoting. So it's not a defensive, but I just wanted to add that note that I gave myself the freedom to not be like, oh, this looks bad. This doesn't go with your brand. This doesn't go with an aesthetic, because I had to get real and say, come on, Justine. You don't even really know your clear identity right now. For all these different brands or whatever projects you got going or books or whatever. So I know that I'm not alone in that. And honestly, I've learned to sit with the discomfort of, you don't have to have all the answers. You just have to have the next right step and have a belief and a faith in that decision that you're making, and then move forward. You then do the same if you realize like, oh, this isn't for me. I don't want to use this app, right? Or I don't want to go this direction with my color palette for my logo or whatever. Then you pivot and you say, okay, well, I learned that I didn't like that system, or I didn't like the way this looked. And then you keep it moving. That's how we grow. That's how we evolve. You don't have to beat yourself up. You don't have to be mad or upset. Just move forward and you say, okay. So my hot nerd verdict, the final verdict before I ask you our question that we always end with, is that Hula can be fun, but it is one of those apps that I myself have a bias where I did not feel it was worth me paying for a continued subscription. I do still have the app on my phone, but I don't use a paid subscription, and I can't really remember the last time that I used it, probably not for 3 or 4 months. And also just in the midst of looking at all the apps I've tried, it's one of the ones I wanted to give an honest review to here on App Fabulous. So all that to say, don't you want to try it? Until next time, have fun.
App fabulous, don't you wanna try it?